Hi everyone, welcome to the 2023 Hoyt Recurve product launch. My name is Steve Anderson. I'm here with Doug Denton, Hoyt's Recurve brand manager, and world champion, world record holder, Brady Ellison. We've got some really cool new stuff for you today. We're going to start here with the new Formula XD Riser. Now I'm going to give a little spec rundown, and Doug and Brady, you guys are the Recurve guys. I'm going to let you give all the details, but I'm just here to maybe keep this on pace. So this new Formula XD, it's a 25-inch riser, Hoyt Formula Series limbs. Specs here say it weighs in 1,250 grams, 1,251 specifically, without the weight system in the pocket, which we'll explain later.
Correct.
And a little over 1,300 grams, 1,306 grams with that weight system. So we have an all-new riser geometry, which we feel is optimized for today's modern needs. We have a new damper system within the limb pocket, as well as a really cool feature on the Dovetail Block system. There's a lot of really cool tech in this. Doug did a really good job with the engineering of these risers, as he's always done, and we feel like this is an improvement on our Olympic gold medal winning Formula XI. So Doug, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on just the riser design and your thoughts with that and what your strategy was.
Well, thanks, Steve, for the introductions there. And tell you what, this is without a doubt my most favorite recurve that I've ever designed for Hoyt. So my very first recurve when I started 15 years ago working for Hoyt was the Gold Medalist Extreme, or as most people know it, it's the GMX. And man, that one was hard to beat. And we introduced the first Formula Series in 2010, and we've had innovation after innovation since then. Brady, you've shot all of the bows.
Yeah.
But again, without a doubt, this is without a doubt my favorite bow. And one of the reasons it's my favorite bow that I've engineered is because I actually shoot better scores with it. And I've always jokingly said that, you know, if I ever show up to a tournament one day and I have something that no one else has, that means I figured something out other than my forms.
Yeah, this is the next generation, right? You had the GMX,
Yep.
which moved the line. And then we came out with Formula. And that raised the bar again. And now it's going to be, this one is going to be setting the new standard.
I believe it is. So let's start walking through some of the geometry changes that is really key feature to the new bow. And to start off with, I'm just going to pick this up here. One of the things that I did was I actually shifted the grip down. Now let me walk you through with why I did that and how I came with that theory. Matter of fact, it was a theory that you and I really discussed. My goodness, probably over a year. I know well over a year ago,
Yeah.
and we're constantly brainstorming and theorizing. How can we make a bow shoot better? Not only just for the world-class athlete, but for myself, it's more of a mid-class, intermediate level shooter. Always looking for that next edge in development. So we theorized if we shifted the grip down, a couple things that happen there. So as you're pulling the bow, it actually has a longer lever arm from the throat of the grip to the top, which actually helps pivot the riser and really seat your hand, and it's just rock solid. Where an archer, we touch the bow in two places, our release hand and our bow hand.
Yeah, and this is going to help your bow arm be stronger naturally. Like, everyone who picks up this bow and shoots should have a steadier bow arm just naturally with the bow. Like, this bow is going to help that bow arm be stronger without you doing anything extra effort on it.
100%. And a couple benefits too with that is we actually have a longer sight window than what we actually have on a Grand Prix 25-inch riser. Now that's a really big deal for all the shooters out there that have shot formula bows before. They couldn't get 18 meters or the closer distances in field because of the sight window.
Yep.
We now have a full length, actually a little bit longer than our current Grand Prix Exceed sight window. So that's going to be a big benefit for a lot of archers out there as well. So that is the core change as far as geometry shift. Now when I shifted that geometry, I also shifted the clicker hose, the rest plate, and the sight mount. So everything shifted down together. So the relationship of where our older bows are, as far as the relationship from the sight mount to the throat of the grip, still remains the same. We just shifted everything down.
Yeah, and another interesting thing that I think this is really going to do by lowering it is where the placement is going to be with our knocking point relative to like the string tips, because now the arrow is more centered in the riser than being on the high side.
Yep.
I do believe that we're going to get a better energy transfer into the arrow, and I think that we're going to see some different knocking points and some different things that we can do on tuning that's going to help us tune arrows better with these faster limbs that we keep creating.
Absolutely, and that's a really key point there with the faster limbs that we've created as the years have gone on, starts to break down the spine of the arrow quite a bit differently. And one thing with lowering the grip and getting that arrow more in the center of the actual string itself, it actually helps reduce downward knock travel, and it does break down the spine of that arrow quite a bit differently. And I've noticed a difference in my personal tune setting up the bow with that.
So when you say the downward knock travel, explain what that was causing with bow tuning and arrow flight.
Yeah, good question, Steve, or comment on that. So what happens with the modern limbs today, it actually induces quite a bit of force, and with the limbs, as far as the speed, with the carbon on the outside, we actually impact that arrow extremely hard, and it will give a buckling effect in that arrow, but also the archer's paradox where it actually is bending in due to the string coming out around our fingers, that it bends in and also buckles. So therefore it's breaking down the spine of that arrow dramatically different than bows or limbs of yesteryears.
So not only is it, a natural like archer's paradox would create a potential fishtail, and then this is creating like a porpoising effect.
Correct. So
you can't always put those together and get a bow to tune really well.
And that's why you see a lot of the top shooters and a lot of just the, matter of fact, not just top shooters, but shooters that are shooting heavier poundage are starting to go up and have to shoot stiffer spined arrows. And Easton, not too many years ago, was it 5 or 6 years, created the 325, correct?
Yep.
To accommodate all of our top shooters going to having to have a stiffer arrow. And part of that reasoning behind that was the high performance limbs that we have today.
And Brady, you were telling me a few years ago, you said you started maybe 2012, and we go back that far in time, and you were shooting 50 pounds or whatever it was, and you were using a 410 spine, correct?
Yeah.
And now you're basically using a 350 spine at the same poundage.
350 at 48, 49 pounds.
So even maybe less poundage.
Yeah, and
needing a stiffer arrow.
And the interesting thing is really not gaining a ton of speed in that. Each year we come out with a faster limb, and then you end up shooting a little bit less poundage, just because every arrow, from what I have found, tunes at a certain speed more than a certain poundage.
Right.
So you could get away with a little bit more speed, but you lose some things. And I really think that this system lowering is going to help us get a better energy into the arrow, so we get true speed and easier tune.
I agree, and again, that's what I've seen with my personal setups. Without a doubt, the most forgiving bow that I have personally ever shot. Some of the other design features that we have as far as the engineering of the riser is what we refer to as dynamic flex control, which is a key engineering principle of how I engineer all of the bows from day one that I work at Hoyt. And what that really means is controlling the what we call out of plane flex, so the twisting or the flexing of the limb pockets, and we're putting all the force of the flex in plane, meaning in the direction of the pull, so the top pocket and bottom pocket are actually flexed equally. Even with this offset grip geometry, they flex equally in plane, which what that really does is it allows the riser, both top and bottom, to work equally with the limbs as you pull back. So it really gives a nice dynamic balance and feel to the riser. The other thing that we maintained as well is maintaining the balance or more of the mass weight to the ends of the pocket. What people have noticed, and I think you've noticed this with the Formula XI, is how well balanced it is after the shot and how stable it feels during and after the shot. And that's really a key of putting some of this mass weight more at the ends of the pocket. It really gives a very stable, dynamic feel as far as when you're shooting it, as you're aiming, just really a stable platform.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm also really excited about on this is we have the weight farther out on the pockets, like on the XI, but on this one we also have, in my opinion, a lot easier and more options to change the weight of the riser with the new weight system that you came up, and it's all hidden inside the pocket, which I think is really cool because it's not going to change any of your color schemes or anything on the outside of the bow.
The aesthetic is always important, right?
Which is very important.
It is, absolutely.
And we're going to be able to change the way the bow balances and feels in ways that we haven't been able to really do before.
Great, absolutely. So what we have, put this down for a moment, is the perfect balance weight system. And what these do, they actually are 1 ounce weights, and they will be placed, you can put them in both top and bottom of the pockets, but if you put them in the bottom pocket, the bow will balance perfectly in the center of the throat of the grip. Now, the reason that is so critical, and what it's going to be critical for a lot of archers, is today, all of the bows from Hoyt balance at the throat of the grip. Now, you take these weights out, you can see that it's top heavy, so it obviously won't balance there. But having the weight option and having these to be able to be placed in the bottom of the riser, and it takes both of them, and these do come with the bow, so you don't have to buy those separately. It allows you to stabilize your bow the same way that you always have. Now, that also changes the overall mass weight to the 1,306 grams, and what that basically equates to is the same mass weight as the original GMX was. And actually the same mass weight as our current Exceed is. So it's not a mass weight that is above what the risers that we've designed in the past have been.
Now, compared to Formula X sizes bow, lighter or heavier?
So exact same weight without the weight system.
Okay.
And it is heavier when you put the 2 ounces of weight into the riser.
Pocket. But it matches that GMX that everyone knew and loved, and
You know,
kind of a home, felt like home for everybody.
And even the Exceed,
Right.
And the XI, like that seems to be the weight, and we, you and I have talked about this a lot. Really seems to be the weight that people like to live in, and where we've gotten the most feedback from shooters is this, the 2 3/4 to almost 3 pounds, just under 3 pounds, that this riser sits in as it comes, or with the weights is the weight that really 90% of our men and women and everyone have asked for.
correct. Now, what we've learned throughout the years is you can have a riser that is too light. And if you get one that is too light in mass, it actually, as you shoot it, it feels like it's kind of fishtailing out of your hands, or very unstable coming out of your hands. So you can have a riser that's too light. And honestly, you can have one that is too heavy for a lot of the beginner archers. And a lot of the female archers don't like a very heavy mass weight. But that 2.9 pounds, or the 1306 grams, is right in the wheelhouse of where archers want to live, both male and female, and both beginner and advanced archers.
Yeah, and I really think the weight system, we're going to be able to change the weights and the balance a ton on this. And then also the dampening system that's going to be in this bow. Everyone always says a quiet bow shoots good. Well, I believe that this bow is going to have a different harmonic than anything that we've made.
Absolutely. It is, without a doubt, the quietest bow that I've ever set up. So what we have is the 360 damper. So we have a small aluminum weight that will actually go inside of this damper. And the damper is actually located in both the top and bottom limb pockets, which is the critical place to have a damper, because that's where all the vibration really resonates to after the shot. So the reason we call it the 360 damper, because it literally can move within that limb pocket up and down, but also in every rotation or every orientation of motion that you can have. And as you shoot, you have all that force that first hits, and the weight will actually go forward, and then as it's settling, It actually starts to move in 360 degrees of motion, hence the name, and absorbs and just kills all the vibration that you might be having in your bow.
Yeah, and it's going to be awesome because it's going to take, vibration generally comes from two places on a recurve. Your limbs hit and they come down your riser, and then the vibration that you get from your stabilizers, they come back up into your hand. So essentially we're going to take a lot of the limb shock out of the riser here, and we're just going to be feeling what's a little bit in the stabilizers. I do believe that this is going to take a little bit of the stabilizers out. So I think we're going to get all the critical feedback that we need and how the riser feels with no extra shock or wear and tear on your body. Because as an athlete that's getting a little bit older, since I've been doing this for a while now, you can tell a difference in really stiff stabilizers and a lot of hand shock in your elbow compared to a soft stabilizer with a bunch of dampening. And this is not the old timers version of a riser, but it is definitely going to feel nice for everyone that gets their hand on it.
Absolutely. And one of the last features we have is our new Dovetail Block. And what we've done here is we've actually added a brass insert here. Now, within the Formula system, we've had some series of, so with the Formula bow, we get this flexing within the limb pocket of the limb itself because we've stretched out those 2 points. And by stretching out those 2 points, it actually has that limb that acts like a longer limb versus that of a Grand Prix bow. So we get more stability of the limb in the limb pocket. We get a smoother feel, draw force curve for the limb. We actually pick up some performance and speed there. But one of the things that we have seen throughout the years with the Formula system is a galling effect that happens within the interface of the dovetail itself of the limb to the interface of the pocket. So what we've done is added a brass insert there, which actually reduces the friction on the limb itself to the riser and reduces any creaking, any clicking, and really just gives a more solid engagement into the riser limb connection. And man, it's just really been a perfect fit there for this new limb pocket system.
And it's a replaceable piece, right? If you need to.
It is, and just to ensure everyone with the testing that we do, what we when we test a recurve riser, so one, we do our dry fire test, destructive testing with machinery back in engineering, which we have 65-pound long limbs that we string the bow up with, and we dry fire it at 30 inches 2,000 times. And it is harsh. It breaks the machine. Now, again, we break recurve limbs during this process, but we can't break the riser. It is critical. It can't bend. It can't twist. It can't crack. It has to withhold all of that abuse. And we go above and beyond to ensure that we have the most durable product in the world. And with that, yes, these are replaceable, but even through all of that, all of the dry fires and cycle tests, we didn't have to replace them. We saw very little wear. And what was really great is in the past, when we did this testing, I would take the bow out and you would hear this creaking because you would get that galling effect onto the dovetail block itself. Zero on this new bow and with this new system. So rock solid platform, lots of great features. We still have the string tension technology within the dovetail block, and where you can change the feel of the limb from a performance setting to intermediate, or the middle setting to the smooth setting. So,
Yeah. Brady, you did a video on that recently, correct?
Yeah, when it first came out, I really wanted to see what it did, and I did it all in one take, live, so to say. But I did it all in one thing, and I had different color nocks, and I shot 6 arrows, 18 arrows, but 3 different things. And I never broke the video, and I took it and I put it in each different setting at 70 meters, shot it, explained the differences you could feel, because it's actually kind of impressive just moving that little bit, how much different it changes the way the limb feels. Went down to 70 meters, and all 3 settings hit in the exact same spot.
yeah, I watched the video. It's really good.
I was surprised. I think in the beginning of the video I said that we were going to have a little bit of a shift, but we did not. So It really does change the way they feel. It's just another way that you can customize this bow to what you need as a shooter. That's always going to be at peak performance.
You know, correct. And the other piece that we have for customization for recurve archers out there is we still have our integrated Vertitune plate system, where we have the high, middle, and low place, again, to truly customize the bow to the individual archer. There is no perfect setting that, like, people just can't come up and copy exactly what you do and expect to see the same result. We're all different. We all have different draw lengths, different finger tabs, different size of fingers.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these variables come into play with setting up a recurve. And with the Hoyt recurve, with the Hoyt Formula XD, you have so much more customization that you can do to this riser, from the new weight system that you can put in both top and bottom, to the dampening that you can have, or you can actually remove it if you choose to, to the Dovetail Block system with the string tension technology, and our Vertitune plate system.
Yep, and this is going to be a bow that I think is going to break some world records in the first 1 or 2 tournaments it gets to weather. This bow will have a new world record on it next year.
Well, that'd be exciting
I'm
to
going
see.
to call that now.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that one.
Not saying it's going to be me, but Hoyt will.
Might as well be, Brady. Something, you know, you got nothing better to do. But, you know, I'll say this about it. I mean, it just has a sleeker look than previous generation Formula bows. I mean, they were all a little beefier through the pocket, it seemed. And this one has that nice look. And I was, just commenting to you the other day about the Exceed, and I thought, oh man, the Exceed's a really good looking bow. And this one's right there too. First time I've seen one in red, but it's nice seeing them go through the factory, seeing them on the racks. You're like, that's a good looking bow.
Yeah, it has been pretty exciting. And I really, when changing that Formula limb pocket, I wanted to go after a completely different design of limb pocket. We've kind of had the same design for, well, really since the Formula limb and the Formula series risers came out, with small tweaks here and there. But this really takes it to a different platform, very sleek, elegant looking design. And I'm really excited for the world to see it.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Everyone, the 2023 Hoyt Formula XD. Really excited for you guys to shoot this one.